Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The day of my job interview dawned bright and clear, yet my mind was a storm of emotions. I stood before my mirror, adjusting the collar of my blazer for the 100th time, the familiar pang of nerves twisting my stomach. After spending the past few years as a stay-at-home mom to my twin daughters, I was finally ready to step back into the professional world. My hands shook slightly as I smoothed down my skirt, and I couldn't help but reach for the worn photograph of my mother that I always kept nearby. The picture, taken years before her tragic accident, showed her smiling warmly at the camera, her eyes full of kindness and strength. It was the only physical reminder I had left of her, a link to the past that I clung to fiercely. My mother had always been my rock, and as I prepared for this significant day, I felt her presence more keenly than ever. With a deep breath, I kissed my daughters goodbye, their sleepy faces turning into giggles as I whispered promises of fun stories when I returned. The drive to the company was filled with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The renowned firm's imposing headquarters loomed ahead, a sleek glass building that seemed to touch the sky. Parking my car, I took a moment to gather myself, reviewing the mental notes I had prepared over the past few weeks. Inside, the lobby buzzed with activity, a hive of professionals moving with purpose. I checked in at the reception, my heart pounding as I waited for my turn. Suddenly, the revolving doors swung open, and a man entered, immediately capturing my attention. He was in his early 40s, his casual attire, a contrast to the formal environment, comprising jeans, sneakers, and a backpack slung over one shoulder. His cyclist helmet dangled from his hand, and he greeted everyone with a genuine, warm smile. "Good morning, Isabel. What a wonderful morning, don't you think?" he said cheerfully to the receptionist. His presence was magnetic, drawing smiles and friendly nods from everyone he passed. He seemed out of place yet perfectly at ease, a breath of fresh air in the corporate setting. As I watched him, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something special about him. My thoughts were interrupted when the receptionist called my name. "Ms. Holly, Mr. Michael will see you now." I followed her down a corridor lined with modern art, my nerves returning in full force. She led me to a spacious office on the top floor. The room was a testament to a life well lived, adorned with trophies, medals, and photos of various achievements. As I took a seat, the man I had seen in the lobby entered, extending his hand with a friendly smile. "Hi, I'm Michael. It's great to meet you, Holly." His demeanor was both comforting and intriguing, his earlier friendliness now directed entirely at me. We began the interview, and I felt my anxiety slowly melt away under his engaging questions and genuine interest in my responses. The conversation flowed smoothly, and I found myself enjoying the exchange, my confidence growing with each passing minute. Towards the end of our discussion, Michael shifted some papers on his desk and accidentally knocked over a picture frame. "Oh, I'm so sorry," he said, bending down to retrieve it. I leaned over to help, and as I lifted the frame, my heart stopped. The photograph inside was unmistakable. My mother's gentle smile stared back at me from the past. For a moment, I felt as if the ground had shifted beneath me. How could this man, a complete stranger, have a photo of my mother? Michael noticed my reaction and looked concerned. "Are you all right, Holly?" I quickly placed the frame back on his desk, my hands trembling slightly. "Yes, I'm fine. Just a bit surprised, that's all." His eyes lingered on me for a moment, a hint of curiosity in their depths, but he let it go. The interview concluded shortly after, with Michael informing me that his secretary would be in touch regarding the next steps. I thanked him and left the office, my mind racing with questions. As I stepped out into the bustling lobby, I couldn't shake the image of my mother's photograph on Michael's desk. It felt like a piece of a puzzle I didn't even know existed had just fallen into place. How was my mother connected to this man? Why did he have her picture? The drive home was a blur, my thoughts consumed by the mystery that had suddenly invaded my life. That evening, after tucking my daughters into bed, I sat at the kitchen table, the photograph of my mother in hand. The memories of her tragic accident and my subsequent move to another state with my aunt played out in my mind. I had always wondered about the life my mother had left behind, the people she had touched, and the impact she had made, but never in my wildest dreams had I imagined finding a link to her in such an unexpected place. My phone buzzed, jolting me back to the present. It was a message from Michael's secretary, confirming my appointment for the following week. As I stared at the screen, I knew I couldn't let this mystery go. I needed answers. The photograph was more than just a coincidence. It was a sign, a connection waiting to be uncovered. Little did I know, this revelation was only the beginning of a journey that would change my life forever. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the breakfast table. My twin daughters, Lily and Emma, were chattering excitedly about their day at school, their voices blending into a delightful symphony of youthful exuberance. I sipped my coffee, savoring the moment before the whirlwind of the day swept us all away. Today was a big day, and I needed to be at my best. The decision to restart my career after a hiatus to raise my daughters had not been an easy one, but I felt ready. More than that, I felt eager to reclaim a part of myself that had been on hold. Dressing carefully, I chose a professional yet comfortable outfit, adding a touch of makeup to enhance my confidence. The familiar photograph of my mother sat on my dresser, her serene smile giving me the encouragement I needed. I tucked it into my purse, a small token of her presence to carry with me. Arriving at the company's headquarters, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The sleek, modern architecture was both intimidating and inspiring. As I stepped into the lobby, memories of my last visit here for the initial interview with Michael flooded back. The encounter with my mother's photograph on his desk had left me with more questions than answers, but I was determined to focus on the task at hand. The receptionist, Isabel, greeted me with a warm smile. "Welcome back, Holly. Mr. Michael is expecting you." "Thank you, Isabel," I replied, my heart racing as I made my way to the elevator. The ride to the top floor felt interminable, each ding of the passing floors heightening my anticipation. When the doors finally opened, I was greeted by the familiar sight of Michael's office. He stood up as I entered, his friendly demeanor instantly putting me at ease. "Holly, it's good to see you again. Please have a seat," he said, gesturing to the chair opposite his desk. "Thank you, Michael," I replied, taking my place and trying to calm the butterflies in my stomach. Michael wasted no time, diving straight into the details of the job and what it entailed. As he spoke, I felt my confidence growing. My years away from the corporate world had not dulled my skills or my passion. I found myself engaging in the discussion with enthusiasm, my ideas flowing naturally. "I must say, Holly, your experience and insights are impressive. It's clear you've kept yourself well informed during your time away," Michael said, a hint of admiration in his voice. "I've always believed in continuous learning, even if it's not within a formal job setting," I responded, feeling a surge of pride. As our conversation continued, the topic shifted to the company's projects and future plans. Michael's vision for synergy innovations was both ambitious and inspiring, and I could see myself being a part of it. Just as we were wrapping up, he paused, his expression thoughtful. "Holly, there's something I'd like to discuss with you. Off the record," he began, his tone serious. Curious, I nodded. "Of course, Michael. Michael, I am haunted by one question after our first meeting. Tell me, what is my mother's picture doing on your desk?" He leaned back in his chair, his eyes meeting mine. "I've been aware of your mother's legacy for some time now. She was an extraordinary woman, and her work in social projects has left a lasting impact." "Yes, she was," I replied softly. "Her dedication to helping others was unmatched." Michael nodded, his expression somber. There's a reason I have her photograph on my desk, Holly, but it's a story for another time. For now, I just wanted you to know that her legacy continues to inspire many of us here. I was taken aback, but I managed to keep my composure. Thank you, Michael. That means a lot to me. With the formalities concluded, Michael extended his hand. Welcome to Synergy Innovations, Holly. We're thrilled to have you on board. I shook his hand, feeling a sense of accomplishment and excitement. Thank you, Michael. I'm looking forward to being a part of the team. Leaving his office, I couldn't help but reflect on the unexpected turn of events. My mother's influence seemed to reach farther than I had ever imagined, and I was determined to uncover the mystery of her connection to Michael. But for now, I had a new job and a fresh start to focus on. Back home, I celebrated the news with my daughters, their joy infectious as we danced around the living room. Later, after they were tucked into bed, I sat with a cup of tea, the photograph of my mother in hand. Her legacy had brought me here, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. This career restart was more than just a job. It was a chance to honor her memory and continue her work in my own way. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. I dove headfirst into learning my new responsibilities, quickly adapting to the fast-paced environment of Synergy Innovations. My colleagues were welcoming and supportive, and I began to form friendships that made the transition smoother. One afternoon, as I was reviewing financial reports, I received an unexpected visitor. It was my uncle, Uncle Ben, who had always been a guiding presence in my life. He had heard the news of my new job and had come to offer his congratulations in person. "Holly, I knew you could do it," he exclaimed, enveloping me in a bear hug. "Thanks, Uncle Ben. It means a lot to have your support," I replied, smiling. As we caught up, I mentioned Michael and his unusual connection to my mother. My uncle's expression shifted, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "Michael, you say? I worked with a Michael about 10 years ago. He was, well, let's just say he wasn't the easiest person to get along with," Uncle Ben said, choosing his words carefully. I was intrigued. "What do you mean?" He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "He was arrogant, ill-tempered, and quite frankly, the worst boss I ever had. But people can change, Holly. Maybe he's different now." I pondered his words, wondering what could have transformed Michael from the person my uncle described to the kind, inspiring leader I had met. The pieces of the puzzle were still scattered, but I felt I was getting closer to understanding the full picture. As Uncle Ben left, I returned to my work, my mind buzzing with thoughts. My career restart was off to a promising beginning, but the mystery surrounding my mother and Michael added a layer of intrigue that I couldn't ignore. I knew that in time, the answers would reveal themselves. For now, I was content to take each day as it came, grateful for the new opportunities and determined to make the most of them. The first few weeks at Synergy Innovations flew by in a whirlwind of meetings, training sessions, and new responsibilities. As I settled into my role, I couldn't help but notice the stark contrast between my initial impression of Michael and the stories my uncle had shared. Michael was everything my uncle had claimed he wasn't: kind, patient, and genuinely interested in the well-being of his employees. One morning, I was heading to the break room for a much-needed cup of coffee when I overheard a conversation that piqued my curiosity. Two colleagues, Sarah and Jake, were discussing Michael in hushed tones. "Can you believe how much Michael's changed?" Sarah said, shaking her head in disbelief. "I know," Jake replied. "I remember when he first started here. He was a nightmare to work with. But now, it's like he's a completely different person." I paused, pretending to browse through the selection of teas while I listened intently. "It's amazing what a difference a few years can make," Sarah continued. "I heard he went through something life-changing, but no one knows exactly what happened." I couldn't resist any longer. "Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't help overhearing. What do you mean by life-changing?" Sarah and Jake exchanged glances before Sarah spoke up. "Oh, hey Holly. We were just talking about Michael. He's been through quite a transformation over the years. When he first started, he was, well, not the easiest person to work with." Jake nodded. "Yeah, but something happened. He took the leave of absence for a while, and when he came back, he was a completely different person. More compassionate, more understanding. It's like night and day." Intrigued, I decided to dig a little deeper. "Do you know what happened during his leave of absence?" Jake shrugged. "Not really, just rumors. Some say it was a personal tragedy, others say it was a health scare. Whatever it was, it definitely changed him for the better." I thanked them for the information and returned to my desk, my mind buzzing with questions. What could have happened to Michael to cause such a dramatic shift in his personality? And how did it tie into the photograph of my mother on his desk? That afternoon, I had a scheduled meeting with Michael to discuss a new project I was assigned to. As I walked into his office, I noticed the familiar photograph of my mother prominently displayed on his desk. It was a constant reminder of the mystery I was determined to solve. "Hi, Holly. Please have a seat," Michael said, smiling warmly. "Thank you, Michael," I replied, taking a seat and opening my notebook. "I'm excited to discuss the new project." We dove into the details of the project, brainstorming ideas and outlining the steps needed to achieve our goals. Michael's passion for innovation was contagious, and I found myself inspired by his vision and drive. As the meeting drew to a close, I decided to take a chance and ask, "Michael, if you don't mind me asking, how did you know my mom?" Michael took a deep breath, his gaze meeting mine. "I met your mother years ago through her social projects. At the time, I was going through a difficult period in my life, and her kindness and generosity made a profound difference. She believed in helping others without expecting anything in return, and that inspired me." I listened intently, my heart swelling with pride for my mother and the legacy she had left behind. "I had no idea. She never mentioned you to me." A shadow of sadness crossed Michael's face. It was a brief encounter, but it left a lasting impression. After her accident, I felt compelled to honor her memory in any way I could. That's why I've been donating to her projects and keeping her photo here. It's a reminder to live up to the values she embodied. Tears welled up in my eyes as I absorbed his words. My mother had touched so many lives, and her impact continued to resonate even after her passing. "Thank you, Michael. It means a lot to know that her work is still making a difference." Michael smiled gently. "It's the least I can do. Your mother was a beacon of hope for many, and her legacy deserves to be honored." As I left his office, I felt a deep sense of connection to my mother and a renewed determination to carry on her work in my own way. The mystery of Michael's transformation still lingered, but I knew I was one step closer to understanding the full story. Later that week, we had a team-building retreat planned at a nearby conference center. It was a chance to bond with colleagues and learn more about each other outside the office environment. As we gathered for the first session, I noticed Michael engaging with everyone, his genuine interest in their lives and well-being evident. That evening, as we sat around a bonfire, toasting marshmallows and sharing stories, I felt a growing sense of camaraderie with my colleagues. Michael joined us, his presence warm and welcoming. "Holly, can I talk to you for a moment?" he asked, gesturing towards a quieter spot away from the group. "Of course," I replied, following him to a bench overlooking the lake. We sat in silence for a few moments, the crackling of the fire and the gentle lapping of the water providing a soothing backdrop. Finally, Michael spoke, his voice filled with emotion. "Holly, there's something I've been wanting to tell you," he began. "During my health scare, I needed a heart transplant. It was a critical situation, and the chances of finding a match were slim." I listened, my heart pounding in my chest as I sensed where this conversation was heading. A heart became available from a woman who had been in a car accident. Michael continued, his eyes meeting mine. Your mother, her heart saved my life. The revelation hit me like a tidal wave, a mixture of shock, disbelief, and profound connection washing over me. My mother's heart saved your life. Michael nodded, his eyes glistening with tears. Yes, Holly, and it's something that has profoundly changed me. Her heart beats within me, and every day I strive to live a life that would make her proud. Tears streamed down my face as I processed the magnitude of his words. My mother's legacy lived on in the most literal sense, her heart giving life to a man who had transformed his own in her honor. Thank you for telling me, I whispered, my voice choked with emotion. It's incredible to think that she's still a part of this world, making a difference. Michael placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. Your mother was a remarkable woman, Holly, and I am grateful every day for the second chance she gave me. I want you to know that I am here for you, in any way you need. In that moment, I felt a profound sense of connection and gratitude. The mystery of Michael's transformation had been unveiled, and it was a story of hope, redemption, and the enduring power of my mother's love. As I looked out over the peaceful lake, I knew that my journey at Synergy Innovations was just beginning, and that my mother's legacy would continue to inspire and guide me every step of the way. Months passed, and the connection between Michael and me deepened. The knowledge that my mother's heart beat within him created an unbreakable bond. Our collaboration at Synergy Innovations flourished, driving the company to new heights. But more than professional success, we found a sense of family and belonging that neither of us had anticipated. One sunny afternoon, Michael called me into his office. His usual friendly smile was even brighter today. Holly, I have some news, he said, his eyes twinkling with excitement. We're launching a new initiative, one that's very close to both our hearts. I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What is it? Michael handed me a beautifully designed brochure. On the cover, in elegant script, was the title, The Hope Foundation, Continuing the Legacy of Kindness. We're starting a foundation in your mother's name, Michael explained. Its mission is to support social projects, just like the ones she was passionate about. We'll provide funding, resources, and volunteers to help those in need. Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked at the brochure, feeling my mother's presence so strongly in that moment. Michael, this is incredible. She would be so proud. Michael's smile softened. It's the least we can do to honor her memory and ensure her spirit of generosity lives on. The launch event for the Hope Foundation was a grand affair. Colleagues, friends, and community members gathered in the beautifully decorated hall. Photos of my mother adorned the walls, capturing her in moments of joy and service. Michael and I took the stage together, sharing her story and the vision for the foundation. As we spoke, I felt a surge of pride and gratitude. The foundation was not just a tribute to my mother, but a testament to the power of kindness and the enduring impact of her heart. After the event, Michael and I stood by the lakeside, where we had shared so many heartfelt conversations. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the water. Holly, Michael said, taking my hand, I want you to know how much your mother have changed my life. She gave me a new purpose and a reason to strive for something greater than myself. I smiled, feeling the warmth of his hand in mine. And you've given me a way to keep my mother's memory alive, to see her legacy grow and touch even more lives. As the first stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, I felt a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. My mother's heart had not only saved Michael's life, but had brought us together to continue her work.